Hello and welcome to the LASS Bookworm, a podcast where I, Akhil Hanif, read and summarize books and evaluate their usefulness in the Peel School curriculum. Today's book is The Sun Does Shine, a book written by Anthony Ray Hinton. Quick summary of the book: it's a true story based on the experiences of the author, and he was a black man living in Alabama. 30 years ago, he was arrested and charged with 3 murders and sentenced to death. However, Anthony is innocent, and the book documents how his life changed over his prison sentence until his release. With all that said, let's get into why I think this book should be kept into the grade 11 curriculum. Firstly, I want to talk about the impact this book has on its reader and the impact it's had on me. The main theme I want to talk about is forgiveness. I think forgiveness is the main theme of The Sun Does Shine, because at the beginning of the book, Anthony was full of hatred and wanted vengeance for what was done to him. However, he realized that having his heart full of hate and clinging to the past would never let him achieve happiness. I didn't want to go back to having hatred in my heart. I had forgiven McGregor. His sins were between him and God. Hinton 189. At this point, Anthony was locked up for about 25 years. Imagine, if you will, you being locked up for 25 years and losing your freedom for 25 years and being able to say this and forgive the person who had done this to you. That's just insane to me. Next, I want to talk about the main conflicts in the book, like racism, Anthony being denied his freedom, and capital punishment. These are all things that get your brain thinking and wondering about all of them and allows you to do some self-reflection. Anthony's words: "My only crime was being born black, or born black in Alabama," Hinton 5. Anthony was very well aware why he was sentenced to death. An all-white jury, a white prosecutor, and a white judge in Alabama convicted of 3 murders, and he was black. He was condemned to death. The fact that this is even allowed makes you wonder, everything about justice. How do we let justice, whose main symbol is a blind lady meant to represent the unbiased nature of justice, be this biased? Next, I want to talk about Anthony's freedom being denied to him by the state. In Anthony's words, "I just had to realize that the state would lie, cheat, steal, and stall to keep from admitting they were wrong about me." Hinton 208. The state knew what they were doing was wrong. Anthony appealed his case over and over and over again. To anyone, the fact that Anthony was in a completely different building where the only exit was with a guard who had to manually sign you out, it just means he's free. He would make him a free man. The state did not feel like admitting its mistakes. It's hard to look a person in the eyes and tell them that the last 15 years of their life were wasted by a technicality or on purpose. On top of this, having to explain this to the general public would hurt the state's image, which I think is the main point of this conflict. We are more focused on how something will make us look or us feel instead of what is the right thing to do, and I feel like that's the main point of this conflict. To round my points off, I'm going to talk about the efficacy of capital punishment. It's been debated for a very long time, and here are some of the questions that regularly get brought up. How do we know we have the right guy? How much crime is too little to be considered for the death penalty? And what is the exact amount? And how do we know that people can't change? The fact is that none of these questions are answerable. How do we know we have the right guy? You can never know for certain. How much crime is too little to be considered for the death penalty and how much is too high? It's arbitrary. How do we know that people can change? We can't. In fact, in the book, it's shown. Henry was a racist KKK member who lynched a black person. He was the first ever white man to be brought into the death sentence. He made friends with Anthony, a black guy, and he even showed his racist parents Anthony and said that this was my friend. It shows that people can change, and that the death sentence is a very cruel thing by its very nature. Like how Anthony says in the book many, many times, it is not execution, it is death. That was all my first point, and now I'm going to move on to my second point, which is that Anthony changes through his sentence in prison, and that answers the course question: how do our lived experiences, culture, religion, and ethnicity help to shape our identities? Take this question literally. Anthony says, "The bathroom was almost exactly the same size as my cell. I would sleep here tonight. This felt like home." Hinton 236. Anthony literally mentally changed, but now I'm going to answer how I think this question was supposed to be answered, which is how Anthony changed as a person. Anthony became a spokesperson for prison reform. He regularly talks on news stations about his experience and also wrote the book The Sun Does Shine, which I'm talking about right now. He talks about how and why the prison sentence of death should be changed, and is overall a person who is very knowledgeable about this subject. Lastly, I want to talk about the characters and how they change Anthony in the book. The first person I want to talk about is Anthony's mom, because I think she's probably the most important person. In the book, Anthony steals a car and, over time, the guilt overwhelms him. The first person he wants to talk to is his mother. Anthony says, I did something wrong, and then his mother responds with, are you gonna make it right? Anthony responds with, yes ma'am, Hinton 34. This shows that Anthony's mom wants the best for her son, wants to change him into a good person, and instead of telling him that he's a bad person, he tells him to take responsibility for his actions and turn himself into the police. With this and many other lessons, Anthony becomes a much better person because of the teachings his mother instilled onto him. In conclusion, I think this book should be in the grade 11 curriculum because it has very compelling and interesting characters. It shows how we change as people and how experiences change us and answers the course question. And it also has many important themes and conflicts like forgiveness, racism, freedom, and capital punishment.